How does creating the life of your dreams in 2016 sound? Or what about helping someone else do the same?
With Christmas approaching, the Well & You range of inspirational products is all inspiring.
Choose from vision board kits, a gratitude box, a John box, coaching packages and more. Gifts start from just $5.
To find out more, simply go to wellandYou.com. That's WELLINEUX.com and click on the Christmas catalog to help make 2016 incredible for you and the people you care about. TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Julie Tenner.
And I'm Bridget Wood. And today we are talking on the theme of Are You Living What You're Preaching? But first of all, we want to talk about who this podcast is sponsored by, which is Milk and Maple, a whole food atelier who makes the most beautiful, decadent cakes. We had Evelyn's cake, and it was actually used to be called Evelyn Reed Raw Cakes. So if you're in sort of the Melbourne area, you may be familiar with her stuff because they're just...
She's everywhere.
Well, they're in every kind of whole food cafe.
Yeah.
But we were so fortunate to be able to nourish all of our women at our retreat back in November with these two incredible cakes.
Yeah, I feel like there was even three.
Maybe
the
there was.
blueberry one was outrageous. I could not get enough. I was like, what is this magnificence that I'm eating? It's ridiculous. Yes.
I actually went and visited her at her commercial kitchen to pick up these cakes just before the retreat, and I had my son with me. And she was just the most gorgeous soul. Like she was, she was happy for Hugo to, shake all of her little different whole food ingredients. And she had all these green pistachios and just all of this beautiful stuff.
And her cakes are genuinely beautiful.
Yeah.
Like they're artistic. If you've been on our Instagram feed, you will see pictures of her cakes that we had coming up from our retreat. And they are just magnificent. Not only do they taste amazing, and they're totally raw. Yeah, they're healthy amazingness.
Yeah, they're raw vegan. They're raw vegan.
Yeah.
they're raw vegan cakes.
So also my thing is, if you are not the person that has the time to spend making that, then just get them from her, because she will make your festivity, whatever it is leading up in this Christmas period, healthy and amazing and beautiful.
And I know it sounds like we're gushing, but I hope you can hear that we actually love it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, so anyway, so we're really looking forward to an ongoing partnership with Milk and Maple in our retreat.
And Milk is MYLKE and Maple.
And she's just had a whole rebrand done, and even that's just beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. We love Evelyn.
Anyway, we are now moving into the content of this podcast. So this really came about because in a kind of study group that I'm working in around the teachings of consciousness and universal laws and human behaviour, somebody posted this point or this statement: are you embodying what you are preaching, teaching, selling, or demonstrating? Because if not, the universe doesn't reward incongruency. Bam! And it's a bit of a wake-up call, right? Because I think that there can be a lot of people, and particularly, if you're interested in like sort of wellness or, that kind of whole food living type lifestyle, there's a hell of a lot of charlatans popping up, who might seem like that they live that lifestyle, but there is actually a lot of incongruency in what their life's actually demonstrating. But then I thought, let's not get too judgy here, because I think that to a degree we all do that, don't we? And as our level of knowledge evolves on a topic, or as our interest shifts and wanes, there's still responsibilities that we have, whether it's to a job, whether it's to our business or even our children, to keep up that level of enthusiasm or keep up that focus on something when sometimes we don't feel like we're all there. Do you resonate with that? Is there stuff in your life that you found, you kind of, it's almost like a bit of a struggle, right? Like you're kind of pushing yourself to kind of live what you're preaching to somebody else, or you hear yourself giving advice to somebody else and you're like, there's something in that for me.
Yeah, totally. Actually, that one's really good. I always think that I'm often give advice to other people because that seems to be what happens in my life. And then I go, that's probably fairly relevant for me right now. Yes, and listening to what you're saying to others, because it's always the advice you're giving yourself, because this is the world of the mirror. Right?
Yeah, and it's when you give advice to other people, it is
literally
advice
yourself,
because it's your subconscious talking.
I would say authentically, yes, I really do live what I preach, because if I'm not doing it, I don't see how I can heal people
Yeah.
with it or in it.
Yeah.
If I'm ever being inauthentic or not honouring that, then I think there's things that stop me in my tracks. So I get sick and I have to reevaluate, right? Which is
Why?
what's happened now for me in the last couple of weeks. Or, I don't know, what else would happen? I would have a wake-up call of some sort that I would go, I would be on burnout. I don't know, my family dynamics everyone's cranky in the house. I don't know, there would be something that creates disharmony that makes me wake up a little bit too. Hang on a minute, what am I doing here? And do I need to, I don't know, shake it up and resettle things where they used to be. What else? I don't know. This is a tough one for me because this is not calling hugely strongly to me because I feel authentic in the people, I suppose, that I choose to have in a professional circle.
Yeah.
I choose for a reason because they are authentic. So I don't have a lot of exposure to inauthenticity. I guess I'm only thinking about those waxing and wanings of my intent and purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm hardcore and full on about whatever the thing is. And then sometimes I go, oh God, I haven't got time, energy, or it's slipped off my radar, and then I have to rein it back in again. But I think that is also the cyclical nature of the feminine as well, is just that following of, there you go.
And I think, even the seasons, right? So like, we have the seasons in nature, but we also have our own seasons in our own self around what's resonating with us and what's calling to us, and our authenticity is our truth, but the form in which that's expressed is often always changing as we grow in our knowledge, as we develop in our interests, as our outward values are expressed. We move through a different time era in our lives. Like, for you, when you were really focused on being a doula, or really focused on those early moments of life, then there was perhaps you probably might became much more alive in conversation around some of those topics than perhaps you might now, because you've moved through that.
Yes.
And so even though you do still have the congruency in what you're teaching in that, it's not calling you with the enthusiasm with which it has done in the past.
The intent is not as intense as it used to be. Yeah, totally. No, I agree with that completely. I'm interested more in what this person touches on in that blog post or whatever it was, about the universe rewarding
congruency.
Well, congruency. Yeah, I find that a very interesting topic. So if you're running uphill or your business isn't, flourishing, what would you say?
I think that's when your business isn't flourishing, your business is an extension of yourself. And I remember a coach saying to me once, your business is almost your greatest spiritual growth, because your business is only ever going to grow to the level of which you're willing to grow. So any pain points in your business, are usually a reflection of an area that you're trying to skim over in your personal life. So if your business's finances aren't doing very well, then what's your going on for you in your attitude to money, or in your your own self-worth in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really do. It's very poignant.
We've been soon talking about money blogs, so maybe that's another podcast. But so in terms of the universe not rewarding congruency, the universe wants everyone to actualize and actualize themselves.
What does that mean?
So we are all here to evolve. So the natural way that the universe and the ecosystem and any living organism in life is designed is to evolve. And to evolve means that we need to grow and own more parts of ourselves. So the more integrated we are, the more whole we are, in terms of meaning the more disowned parts that we see around us, the more of those we're integrating into ourselves, into our own.
The more we're opening up the castle of rooms,
yes,
to create more of the wholeness of who we are.
Exactly.
Accepting and loving the dark and the light.
Yes. The more we become congruent, because we are more in flow, because we are less kind of disintegrated. You know what I mean? We're less kind of the kind of it's that idea that when you are whole, you're more authentic in who you are, because you're less susceptible to injecting the values of other people who are around you. And so the less that you're injecting those outside values, and the more that you're living your own authenticity, is the more that you are then aligned with what you are preaching or teaching to other people. So there's less of a split, I suppose, in terms of what your life is demonstrating and what you are also teaching to others to align with.
Hang on, let's just scale it back a bit because I got interested in that point just then. What was the word you used when you're taking on other people's beliefs?
Oh, injected values.
Injected values. So what creates us the impetus or the need to take
inject.
on, to inject values?
So when we are living in our own highest values, so we talk a lot about values and we do a lot of this work in the retreat. We mean values in terms of what your life is actually demonstrating is important to you. So the things that you fill your space with, how you spend your time, what you think about, what brings you alive in conversation, all of those things that basically your life's demonstrating is you.
It's almost like what is your soul's calling, isn't it? Because those three areas are really the areas of your life that you're really going to have areas of genius
Yes,
in
that's right.
or on.
And, I think Albert Einstein said, you don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Everyone has their area of genius and
I love how you just pull these quotes out. It's total gold.
Everyone has their own area of genius, and the more that we can live in alignment with that and with our values, the more that's able to be expressed, and the more we then actualize our true self as opposed to thinking we need to be like somebody else. Because as soon as you'll notice this, we talk about this sometimes too, you go on you're feeling great, then you go on Instagram or Facebook, or you talk to somebody whose life seems perfect, and then your own sense, you feel like you're kind of shriveling or shrinking a bit, and you start to think, oh, maybe I should do that. Oh, they're doing that way better than me. Oh, why am I that successful?
I'm not enough.
I'm not. And your physiology, you'll notice, actually just starts to
shrink inwards.
Shrink, and it almost feels like a bit of a rot setting in. That's when you're more susceptible to injected values, because your self-worth is low. You feel like you're not enough. You don't think that you're on any kind of path, and you think that everybody else must have the answers because they look like they've got their shit together more than you do. That's when you're much more susceptible to injecting values of others. And also, who you subordinate to, you'll also inject values. So we do it with our parents all the time. So
the part with the interesting thing to me is the themes in which you're injecting those values. Are they areas that you need growth in? Like, are they almost a red flag for, pay attention to me here, there's a vulnerability here?
But it'll also be things that you think that others have that you don't have. So it's about you trying
But therefore, is that the lack or the vulnerability?
Yeah, it's trying to get you to wake up and see where you have that. So whenever you are too humble or proud to admit that what you see in others is in you to the same degree, then you will disintegrate parts of yourself, and you'll cause illnesses, you'll have challenges in your life to get you to try and wake up those parts. Because that's your purpose, is to grow and to own more of who you are, and everybody around you is trying to reflect that to you. And anything that you feel in terms of anger, frustration, blame, betrayal, all those kinds of symptoms are symptoms as a feedback to you to help you to get more authentic and help you to get more clear on what's true for you, to wake that up and grow. Because we don't grow when we stagnate, in other people's values and in other people's views of us, or what we think they have as views of us.
But the pain or the reaction that we create internally with ourselves in viewing that area that we're obviously not feeling strong or healed enough in kind of is the wake-up call. Isn't it?
Yeah. And that's why, you can't have, pain serves us.
Yes.
We often...
Because we pay attention to it.
Yeah, we often conventionally...
Isn't that funny? We pay more attention to our pain than we do to our pleasure.
Yeah, because we often don't know. It's like that thing, you don't really value your leg, or you don't notice how much your leg does for you until you break it.
Yeah.
So we don't notice the things that when we're in alignment so much as we notice them when we're really not.
Yeah.
But that's how our pain is there to communicate to us.
Communicate. Oh my gosh, I love this stuff so much.
So pain is like, you don't want to get rid of pain any more than you want to get rid of pleasure, because pain is a messenger.
Yes, it is.
And, the level of pain that you have in your life is
I feel like we should put that on social media. Pain is a messenger.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful statement.
But I think it's powerful, and in some ways, particularly because we're just so dominated by conventional Western medicine's approach to pharmacology in terms of numbing pain, that we don't want to see the message in the pain. Message in the pain. We want to disown the pain, because we don't have time for the pain. The pain represents the fact that we might be weak. The pain is distracting us from higher priority things.
Well, the pain forces us out of our comfort zone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the only way really what we're talking about to get through the pain is to move outside of your comfort zone, find new edges and new definitions of who you are and what you're going through and what you're processing. Because when you do that, the pain no longer needs to be there as a messenger because you've done the growth that's needed.
Purpose.
Yes, but it's much easier to feel the pain, to stop the pain and stay in our comfort zone.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're wired for that. Like, we are hardwired as a evolutionary species. You know, our lower-minded animal nature wants to seek pleasure, avoid pain all the time. And that's, you know, that's instant gratification. That's, you know, like living in the moment without thinking about the, you know, broader consequences. It's the absence of objective reasoning whenever you're doing something and just going with stuff on a whim, and explaining that away as like, you know, I just had to do it. You know, like we can explain anything in that approach. But in the context of that idea of, you know, what are you preaching, what are you teaching, what are you living? I've been thinking a lot about that in terms of suburban sandcastles and the social media, and what am I teaching and preaching, and is that congruent to what's important to me? Because I was going back through, you know, popular posts and what's resonating with my audience, and, you know, 12 months ago I was obsessed with food. You know, I was gluten-free, I was religious about what I put into my mouth, and that was to me the epitome of wholeness and wellness. But, you know, as we've talked about, that has shifted for me, you know, and it's not all about food. Food's still important to me, but it's not that important. And so I guess I'm careful about the kinds of messages that I have out there. That are they aligned still for me? And, you know, do I want to balance out the pictures of my son having a green smoothie with the times where we eat caramel slice, you know, and that authenticity then feels more in line with who I am, and that I'm not trying to present parts of myself that...
Because this is a big, actually, even just a broader debate on social media at the moment anyway, isn't it? Is showing the bad stuff along with the good stuff. And there's such a conflict between, well, yeah, but I don't want to turn on the social media feed and just be bombarded by everything shit.
Yes.
So what's that fine line between what's authentic versus what's
just showing your dirty laundry,
or venting, or I don't know, raging on a social platform as opposed to raging, I don't know.
I think in social media it's that well, how is this adding value to people? You know, how is, you know, asking yourself a question before you're posting something, what am I trying to achieve with this, and, you know, what will my audience get out of this? And that's something that I'm beginning to think more intently about. But I guess that whole process of, because, I mean, you look at your Instagram feed, whether it's your personal one, whether it's your business one, and you can see plainly what you value. You know, that should be another question in a values determination is, what does your social media say about you? Because that'll be the parts of yourself that you want to share quite often. You know, it'll be your idealized self. But I guess your whole self is that, and the other parts that you're not displaying. And I'm not saying that I'm going to go out and, you know, show the state of my house on my social media, because who wants to see that, right? Like that. But it's the, you know, the stories, the anecdotes, the willingness to be true and vulnerable and authentic, and not trying to deny that part of yourself. And I guess that's what I want to come, because I know that I can do a lot of preaching, and I'm sure some of our podcasts sound like I preach in terms of a lot of this work that I'm learning, but I also want to always bring it back to, you know, the more I learn, the more I realise there is to learn. And so whatever we're preaching to somebody and often judging in others about is a reflection to us also that we don't know the whole truth. And any suggestion that we think we do know the whole truth means we're wrong, because the truth is elusive, and the truth is a constant path of understanding and learning and growing.
And the truth is always balanced for me too. So when you get to a point and there's no charge on a topic, and you kind of go, I see the benefits and the challenges, both sides of that. Yeah. Then I think you've kind of got to the point where you're supposed to.
Yeah. Well, because it's no longer running you, and you can equilibrate your perception on that thing. Yeah. You know, and we're always doing that all the time, whether we're consciously aware of it or whether we get the wisdom of time that shows us that lens of viewing something. You know, you can look at something in 2 years. You know, 2 years ago, and what was terrible in that moment, you can see, you know, how you also benefited from it. And I guess this work and what we're so committed to with Nourishing the Mother is helping women, you know, not only find the space for themselves to grow and to find what calls to them, but also the wisdom to be able to look for the other side of something that they're not sitting comfortably with, to help them balance it out and help them see both sides, because you can't split the two sides. They're always there. It's just we don't always want to see it.
But the kicker for me is when you do that, it's not even just about becoming more balanced so your emotions aren't so,
Volatile.
running. Yeah. It's also, I feel like that is just, it's the biggest epiphany moment for me when I do that, because it's almost like you surge through your next layer of soul growth.
Yeah, you really do.
Because you get all these other insights that kind of like firecracker off of that one balanced viewpoint that leads on to, 1,000 other, I don't know, firecracker moments.
Yeah.
So that is the journey of soul growth, isn't it?
And that's the exact...
And it's embracing our pain, which is what we're talking about, is we can't just love our light without loving our shadow.
No. And I mean, that's it. You explained it beautifully and so poetically in terms of that growth, in terms of, climbing a quantum, which is what it really is. It's a quantum octave of awareness, and life is thrusting us into that, to do that. And so I guess what we're trying to do for ourselves, and what we'd encourage you to do is find the things that light you up, and then choose challenges in line with that will help you grow that, grow to that next level of awareness. So challenges can be, why did I just have that judgment? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's choosing a challenge to work on.
Or even, there's something, if you've got, your say perhaps your family's most important to you, that's your life cemetery, that's everything, then how can you, what's something that you're resisting but that that you'd love to create in your family? How can you choose that challenge and take it on? Choose the challenges that inspire you, so that you're not attracting challenges outside that are uninspiring, because the challenges are what's required to climb that leap that you're talking about. And so you either choose ones in line with your highest values that are frustrating at times, but also ultimately, enlivening, versus ones that are, destructive.
I really get that. It's the first time I think that's really clicked.
And there's, people talk about stress, and there's this whole kind of body of, energy around in the mainstream, thinking around getting rid of stress. But there's two different kinds of stress. There's you stress, which is stress that you create in order to pursue something that's of value to you, like that, but you almost kind of get energy from.
Yes.
And then there's other stress, which is stress that is happening from events around you that you feel that you can't control and that you feel are running you. So you're going to have stress in your life.
And it zaps your energy.
Yeah.
So that's even a clearer one, isn't it? Is stress almost like it's exciting and I want to get it done and I feel like I need to.
Yeah.
Versus stress of it's just so overwhelming and zapping of everything that I don't know what to do.
Stress that's almost kind of, you're emotionally wrung out. You don't know where to go. Your body feels like it's breaking down. You're going to have stress in your life, and again, you're going to have challenge in your life. How about we work on how do we choose the ones that are more inspiring forms of stress and challenge, as opposed to ones that can get thrust on us? Because you can't avoid it. Like, it's going to be there. That's what we're here to do, is to synthesize and grow from the stuff that happens to us.
The challenge.
The challenge. I don't know about you, but I'd rather
embracing
choose ones.
the pain.
And I do it. I try and do it a lot now, like, because I can see that the universe is organised in such a way that you're here to grow, and you choose it, or it'll get chosen for you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I really do get that. I'm still learning that, though. I think that's, I get it, and I feel like that's one of the things
I'm still getting it too. And whenever I think I'm getting it, then another little piece of knowledge comes and destabilizes what I think I knew and helps me integrate that. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear that the evolution of our knowledge and of our understanding and of what we suggest and the tools that we explain. And same with our retreat will evolve, and that's what's happening. Anything that stagnates kind of becomes uninspired and flat and boring.
So back on the title of this, back on this original question, authenticity in your preaching and your teaching. So how do you know when you're not being authentic? Because there would be challenges that are coming in as opposed to you choosing them. You would have a feeling of needing to take on other people's values because yours aren't good enough or enough.
Yeah. That's a classic one. I've got a few patterns that I notice in myself that tell me that I'm a bit out of balance, or a bit kind of like not sitting in my own space enough. It's when I kind of waste ages on for social media and just mindlessly look at stuff is a classic one. When I can't be with myself, like when I can't be really calm and feel like I need to, but instead feel like I need to be frantically busy doing something, like because maybe that's I'm more worthy if I'm crazy busy. That's another one. And I was explaining to Julie before we started the podcast today that I've been feeling like I've been sitting quite in a really passive kind of week and really able to integrate stuff as opposed to just be hectically crazy. And that's actually been a great space to be in because I've started to notice some of my patterns a bit more. You know, notice those little red flags for myself when I am taking myself out of myself, you know, and looking outwards more than inwards. It's that constant push and pull. The push to go out to seek the things that are going to help you to grow, but also the pull inwards to help integrate the things that you are exposing yourself to get the lessons from them. Because you need both. You need to have that outward looking and the inward looking. And, you know, too much of either, you know, you'll start to create friction. You're doing too much inward looking, your family might think you're selfish. You're doing too much outward looking, your family might think you're not paying attention to, you know, the unit, yourself, what's true for you. So you'll always be getting that feedback outside of you to help you. And, you know, you listen closely to what's happening around you, everyone, you know, your people closest to you, because they're, you know, we talk all the time about the mirror. They're actually really helping you to get congruent too. They're helping you to get more authentic.
Expand that a little.
So So
I like this. So the shifts you're seeing in those around you are actually because those are the shifts you're making within yourself.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So I'm doing a freelance project at the moment to build a website, to project manage a website. And I was speaking to a photographer yesterday who I've had go out and help the client, and he was feeling a bit charged on a topic, and I was agreeing with him, thinking, yep, you know, it's not right, like the way that they've done it, and I agree. And then I called my husband to get his perspective, thinking he would support my view. But he gave me just the balance I needed because he showed me both sides and helped get me back into a more even-minded state. So I had called him initially thinking for him to support my view of things and help me to figure out how I was going to craft that conversation to talk to the client about. But in fact, he gave me exactly what I needed, which is what I always ask of myself and of people around me, to look for the other side. He gave me that. And so I could have stuck to my guns and felt like, no, you're just wrong. And like, you know, you're not supporting me, blah, 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 blah. You know, this is not right what this client's done. Or I could have done what I did and go, oh, wow, look, I appreciate you giving me that different perspective, because I was calling you thinking that I wanted you to support what I was saying. But actually, you've just helped me see a more balanced view. So every single person around us is trying to help us get balanced. Or see parts of ourselves that we have shut off.
Yeah, have disowned.
And often in a family, and we talk about this family point
in the light and the dark, right? Which is the podcast that we talked about.
That's right, exactly.
So what are the magnificence of people around you that you totally adore, but at the same time you don't think you have, because you do, they're your mirror.
Yeah, that's right.
And what are the things that are really pissing you off around you that you think you don't do, but you do because they're also your mirror?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the first one is you're too humble to admit that what you see in them is in you. And the second one is that you're too proud to admit that what you see in them is in you. And our family push the buttons the most because they're the closest to us. We feel like that they see our most vulnerable parts, that they see our lightness and they see our darkness most closely.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if we get caught up in a new exciting venture or a new, area of growth for ourselves, then we might kind of really focus our energy out to the new group of friends or to the new area of knowledge. And, you know, that will be our focus because we're excited about that and we want to do that. But our family might be a little bit, you know, bring it back down to earth because that's their job. Because if you get elated, excited, one-sided, this is perfect, then your family has to be the balancer. They have to be the skeptic. They have to be the ones who are trying to get you to be practical because you need both. And yeah, you might be pissed off at them, but that's actually their role. And that's the balance of the love that we talk about in terms of it being a synthesis and synchronicity of opposites. You know, the support of what you're loving to go and do, and the challenge of the people around you to help bring you back into a more balanced state. To still go and do that, but also you expose the other side to yourself, knowing that, yes, going and studying that, or going learning that, or going and doing that will still be taking away from other things. So don't get so caught up that it's amazing, because, you know, anything...
It's always both.
It's always both. Anything that you go and do takes away from something else. Anything that you learn, a piece of knowledge, means that you are somewhere in your brain discarding a prior, older piece of knowledge to make way for a new piece of knowledge. So, yeah. So I'm hoping that has explored that topic in some way in terms of...
It awakened some awakenings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they'll come up again.
And we would love you to check out Milk and Maple
Yeah.
on any of the social media feeds or website. And if you have a Christmas function and you don't want to eat the sugar-laden whatever, then definitely take one of hers with you.
Yeah, she has.
You will love it.
She has. I think even on her, maybe even on her social media, you'll be able to find out how to order the cakes and, you know, get a price list and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, amazingness. And to connect with you, Bridget, is on suburbansandcastles.com.
Yes.
And your movies aren't starting again until
Yeah,
next year.
January, and I'm just kind of firming up some of our speakers and films at the moment, so really stay tuned on that, because it's going to be an exciting year.
And we are talking about firming up our retreat,
Yes.
our next retreat at the moment, which will be, it's looking like at the start of March.
Yes.
So if you're really wanting a nurturing, nourishing Christmas present, then I do actually really think this would be the gift that would literally awaken your next year and possibly your new life of creation. So stay tuned for that. And if you yourself want it gifted, please speak that vulnerability and that truth to those around you, so that you can be given and gifted that support. Or if you know a woman who's deeply and immensely going to really benefit out of it, then also really think about intentional time and money to actually invest in your future. I really think that's totally what that can awaken for you.
Absolutely.
And if you want to connect with me, it is at thepleasurenutritionist.com on social media, and on the same for you on social media and on website.
And yeah, until next week, we'll continue to peel back the layers of your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.